Trump is using crypto to pump and dump with all different types of things.
It's the perfect scam. They said, can't give you anything because it's a matter of national security. Like, this just bull.
Do you believe in the deep state?
I hate to be that guy.
Trump is using crypto and the fact that it's 365, 24/7, that he can basically pump and dump with all different types of things. So, for example, one of the biggest things that just recently happened was somebody put in a $200 million long position at 50 times leverage. So that sounds like a lot of numbers, but basically that means Bitcoin, as volatile as it is, can't fall beneath 1.5% of where it was when he put in that. So when he clicked buy and submit, it couldn't have fallen by 1%, or else he would have lost $200 million. The upside for that was only like $10 or $15 million. So it's basically like a huge risk for little reward, but it's basically insider trading, because if you know that that's going to hit, you know, you're willing to risk the $2 million if it's a sure bet. So this was put in just an hour or two right before Trump posted on Truth Social that he's going to create a crypto strategic reserve for the United States, which obviously when that news comes out, that's going to launch Bitcoin's price up, which is exactly what happened. So this guy risked $200 million to make $15 million, and he's got insiders basically pumping and dumping all of this stuff 24/7, and now Wall Street isn't able to get in on that. So it's really interesting to see how this is all playing out, with Trump essentially utilizing the crypto markets to make a lot of money and pump his own bags even more than he has previously.
Well, so when did, let's go back to the beginning and start with, when did, you're saying there's multiple coins and currencies that he's a part of. So when was the first one put together?
Yeah, so he got the Trump coin, which was put together before he even got elected, and it was built on this crypto called Solana. And the creator of this cryptocurrency is a huge donor to the Trump campaign.
Okay.
So the Trump coin was created on this. Then
is Trump, but I read an article, but Trump isn't the owner of the coin. He's just allowing them to use his name.
Basically. It's
right.
like almost like kind of like.
But he does get 75% of all the earnings.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. And it was a huge rug pull. I mean, when it got up, you know, it made millions and millions of dollars right off the bat. It went from basically non-existing to like a couple $1 billion worth in market cap right off the start. So you basically create something out of thin air. You say, Trump just got elected. Here's my meme coin. Everybody goes and bumps and buys it. It's kind of similar to what we saw with like the Hawk Tour girl, if you guys saw that going on. It's like that, but now it's not just memers on the internet. It's presidential candidates using this.
So did Trump own, how much of that coin did Trump own?
So Trump, like you said, he owned like 75% of the proceeds that was made off of there.
But not the coin.
He doesn't create it or anything like that. He just has a team of people like, you know, shadowy super coders behind the scene creating all these things for him.
But Haktua Girl, she owned a portion of the coin. That's how she made her money.
Same kind of thing, though. She didn't create the coin. Like the Hawk Tour girl talking about blowjobs on the internet is not, you know, creating a cryptocurrency token.
Right.
And neither is Trump. He doesn't really have the time for it. But we've had the Trump coin, Melania made a coin, and then Barron made a coin as well. And all three of them, you see, as soon as they're created, big pump up and the big pump down. So people just on the inside essentially own, they say like 70% of this token. As soon as it's launched, a lot of the insiders sell off after it goes up a certain amount. So you see a lot of people try to buy into these things and then get them pumped down. So there's basically a lot of insider trading going on with all of this, because the cryptocurrency world has essentially been the Wild West. And the previous administration, Biden and all them, they tried to put like unnecessary handcuffs on all of the industry. And now Trump's just taking off all of the handcuffs and letting it go back to the Wild West, which, creates a big issue. So there's kind of two sides of the coin here. You could have Biden or like Kamala, where everything would be like essentially extremely controlled. There would be no freedom whatsoever. Or you could have Trump and it'd be essentially the Wild West, and anybody and their mother can create a crypto token and rug pull you, which is essentially what we're getting right now.
Okay. So what's happening? I mean, are we done? That's the whole? Like,
no.
okay.
I mean, because this
Thanks
is
for coming by.
Yeah, this is the huge issue with all of this is that you're using presidential influence for all of this, and then you're going to use now not only the presidential influence but the U.S. taxpayer dollars and what's going on with that. So, what a strategic reserve essentially implies is that the United States is going to hold cryptocurrency on the country's balance sheet. So when Trump made this Truth Social post, he mentioned Cardano, Solana, XRP, and one other cryptocurrency token in his first initial post. And all four of those guys were at the Trump inauguration. They were huge donors to the Trump campaign and basically just threw a bunch of money at President Trump to say, hey, be nice to us in this next coming 4 years. And then on top of that, they're using their influence and their money from these pump and dump schemes to fund Trump's campaign and then put them on the United States balance sheet. So when you do that, then, the U.S. currency is going to get, more manipulated and everything else. So instead of, we had the bankers previously where, if you look into the Fed and everything that went along there, I mean, with like the mortgages and the banks and everything, if you had money, people were just lending you more money to buy up a bunch of assets. Now they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it more out in the open with all of these cryptocurrency tokens. And essentially all these big guys are just coming in and like utilizing their bags to pump and dump the general public. I'm losing you, aren't I?
I don't. Well, because I mean, I feel like he, I wonder how that happens. Like somebody approaches him and says, "Hey, we want to talk to you about doing a cryptocurrency," and he's saying, "Okay, well, what are you going to do?" Like, I don't see Trump understanding 100% how all of this works. So I see them saying, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start cryptocurrency. We're going to call it the Trump coin.
Yeah.
And we just want you to give us your name, just like you would on a hotel. Like, you're not running this hotel in Florida or wherever. Your name's attached to it. And, whatever. The Wind is going to, Steve Wynn. Is it Steve Wynn? Steve Wynn is going to, let's assume his name is Steve Wynn. I think it is. Steve Wynn is going to run the hotel. And we're going to call it the Trump Golden Hotel, and we'll run it for you, and you'll get X amount of dollars. And he's like, okay, that makes sense to me. That's okay. Every once in a while, if you want to mention it, or tweet. You have to put out 3 tweets a year or a month. And to me, I'm sure he's like, okay, and you're going to make a bunch of money off the hotel. It's the same thing. Well, this is a cryptocurrency. We're going to put your name on the Trump coin, and people will invest in it. And it's kind of like the Haktua girl. Like, she's not that I'm saying Trump is stupid, but she's not sharp enough to really understand what's happening. To me, if my name was on it, I would want to say it has to be 100% legit. It has to be, but see, these guys are all going to be like, it's going to be legit. Have your people look at it. And, who knows? I just wouldn't want my name on something that I thought would be questionable. But then again, if I thought, hey, you could make $400 million, I might be like, well, people it's their own risk. People invest at their own risk.
Well, I mean, that's essentially what's happening then, right? I mean, Trump has his team behind him, right? And then all of these people are in his ear and giving him a lot of money anyway. And they're saying, hey, you could build this cryptocurrency on whatever blockchain it is. Here's $100 million, $200 million, whatever it is. And they're going to make tenfold on that crypto token because they know how much Trump's name just carries this weight. the reality is like, you know, the insiders are the guys that are making a bunch of money on these tokens, and it's taking advantage of his platform, basically his name and all of these other things. I mean, there's a prime example of the Argentinian president, Javier Milei. He tweeted out something about this token called the Libra token, right? And basically he's, you know, went and backtracked shortly after, but, you know, he had a token that went from 0 to a $4.5 billion market cap in a matter of hours because he promoted it. And then that $4.4 billion was wiped out on the face of that, just like that as well. The difference is Argentina is, you know, obviously significantly smaller than the United States, but people getting into the president's ears of all of these countries essentially are just, you know, playing with monopoly money, and that's going to make this house of cards that we're sitting on essentially collapse, right? Because we've had some sort of crisis previously where, you know, people were lending out money on homes and just saying whoever gets, you know, this mortgage that they can't afford. Essentially, we're doing that, except instead of the ruse of banking, we're doing it all in the ruse of cryptocurrency.
Anybody that puts like a bunch of money into crypto it's so questionable, and it is so volatile, and it's a volatile market. So, you know, you have to understand that you could lose a chunk of money. You know, so that's kind of like the thing with what was it? What's his name did the Zoo coin, or what was it called? The
Crypto Zoo,
Crypto Zoo,
Crypto
Zoo, and those guys. Like, it's like anybody that's investing a bunch of money. You got these guys that are saying, you know, I put $40,000 into it, and I'm down to $1,500, and this is bullshit. It's like, bro, the truth is, you put $40,000 in it because you thought you were going to be one of the guys on the way up. And now that you turned out you bought it at the top and it just dropped, now you're upset. I got screwed. You wouldn't have said shit if you'd been the guy at the bottom as it was going up. You would have been like, yeah, man, this is a great coin. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, like with that, right? It's like, all right, if I were to tell you, hey, Trump backed this cryptocurrency, most people would think, okay, this is something that's legitimate. The problem is that if a president of the United States is trying to back it, right?
Yeah,
the problem is majority of these things aren't that he's backing. And so that's the bigger issue, is that, you know, we have the president of our country kind of out there shitcoining and encouraging people just to gamble on these tokens, which is the bigger root of the issue here, because he obviously, it's not him, right? He doesn't know, like you said, what he's getting into.
And he's not on the phone like saying, you know, sell it, you know, to get so-and-so, let's drum this up, get me on. No, somebody said, hey, can you drop a tweet about this and say this? And yeah, sure. What is it again?
Yeah, he had his team do it, right?
Right.
And the funny and I guess the unique twist of all of this is that he's been basically putting out executive orders for all of this, right? So he's signing these things into law very quickly. So what happened a few years ago was the Silk Road. I don't know if you're familiar with that or your audience, but essentially it was just like the black market on the internet.
Right.
People were using Bitcoin to buy guns, drugs, everything else.
Yeah, have people killed. Yeah,
exactly.
Ulbricht, and then he pardoned.
He pardoned Ross Ulbricht, who just got free from that. But essentially, you know, the Silk Road had a bunch of crypto and Bitcoin seized from there. It was like 200,000 Bitcoin that was seized from that instance, especially or when Ross got arrested. So what he did was that United States seized Bitcoin just moved over from like seized to a strategic reserve. So they didn't buy anything else, but they had a bunch of all these other crypto tokens that they seized as well. And so they're basically just going to be buying Bitcoin and just keeping the other seized crypto tokens like the XRP, Solana, whatever it is. But they tweeted out, hey, you know, we're thinking about putting into this strategic reserve Cardano, Solana, XRP, all these things. And then they saw in a day those things nearly double in price and then get dumped off right there. So, and they did it on a Sunday night too. So basically, if you were paying attention, you were able to get in and get out really quickly. But majority of people, including like traditional finance, Wall Street, where, not really on the computer looking at all those things.
They were at church.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Wall Street at church,
Yeah.
right? That's exactly where they're at. But I mean, essentially, it's just a giant government pump and dump. I mean, we've all seen the Nancy Pelosi's and everything else, right? She's the best trader of all time with all of her insider trading. Now they're just utilizing cryptocurrency and doing it on the weekends. So not only are we seeing the stock market where, Trump is kind of going at Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, and all these things saying, hey, the government's corrupt, when in reality, he's still utilizing a lot of the things that they're doing previously. It's just he's doing it under the ruse of cryptocurrency.
What do you think, Colby?
Yeah, I think
I don't think Trump would do this.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what his what do you think? What convinced him to do that? Like, why would he make the coin? Like, what does he have to gain? Like,
Yeah,
it seems like a risk that
It seems like
the risk reward factor for him specifically is just like, why would he do that?
That's exactly it. Is like, why are you doing that? He's already a billionaire, right? So why is he letting his team create all these cryptocurrencies for this? It doesn't make any sense.
Is it his team though, or is it just other people that he knows coming to him saying, "Hey, we want you to attach your name to it"? I mean, if I was him, even if you said, no, you don't have to do anything, just attach your name, just like it would be like us running a hotel, you attach your name. Even if they downplayed it to simplify it so it didn't sound like it was nefarious, I still would be like, I don't know. I'd be like, I don't know. Guys, it's questionable. I don't feel like I want my name attached to something that could possibly lose people money. No matter what they were saying to them, because Colby and I have like not taken sponsors and stuff because they were cryptocurrencies, because they were, and Colby's like, look, I don't know enough. Like, these guys are launching a cryptocurrency. They want you to advertise it. And I'm thinking, I advertise this. People lose money. I end up in front of a judge saying, Your Honor, all I did was advertise. I would have a hard time justifying that in front of a judge saying, Your Honor, I just, it'd be like,
well, that's what happened like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
it was like Jake Paul and all those guys. They exactly did that.
What's the quarterback that
Tom Brady?
Yeah, with the FTX.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Yeah, like his whole thing of, hey, I'm just advertising. It's like what bothers me about that is that, to me, when you're telling people to invest, you kind of take on a fiduciary responsibility to at least investigate that. And if you were to say, hey, can you do this? And I were to say, I would need to look into it. And the truth is, like with that cryptocurrency, Colby and I don't know enough to look into it. I don't know enough. It sounds legit. I don't know enough to say. And if I didn't know enough to feel comfortable with it, I'd be like, no, I can't do it. So I don't know what that conversation was, what if they asked for proof of anything, if there were negotiations, if lawyers were involved. Plus the other thing is, like, he's making a bunch of money, but he doesn't really own any of it. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, is it a pump and dump if I never bought the stock? Bought the stock early, it jacked up, and then I sold it. Like, I didn't really have a specific, there was no specific event that I took part in where I yanked it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't.
Yeah, he didn't do it necessarily himself, right? He's not behind the scenes saying buy, sell, or whatever, right? It's somebody coming to him and saying, hey,
you see, there's 600 guys on a fucking Zoom, and he's like, sell. No, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not like that, right? He's just getting approached by somebody saying, hey, we'll give you 200 million, 300 million, whatever it is. We'll give you this amount if you let us put your name behind it, which will make us $1 billion, $2 billion, $4 billion, whatever it is, and we'll give you a portion of the proceeds going forward. So, I mean, that's basically what's going on here, and it's like presidential candidates. It's not like, Matt Cox here this time, and like last 4 years ago, this was Jake Paul and all these other influencers. Now it's like presidential candidates that are getting in on it, and presidents of countries. So that's where it's the bigger issue. Is like before, it was the big quote unquote influencers that would be able to be put in front of a judge, then they get sued and all these things. Now it's like presidents where like
I was
you
gonna say
essentially
that-
can make the laws.
Honestly, though, that's not even happening.
Yeah,
Even
yeah, I
with
was
these
gonna
guys, they're just never like these rug pulls. They just never seem to catch up with them.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like, it's essentially the Wild West, right? So, like, what was coming on before is like, Gary Gensler, he was the guy in the SEC. So he was essentially attacking everything except for Bitcoin, basically delineating the differences between Bitcoin and crypto. He said Bitcoin was essentially, looked at as property or as like an asset, where everything else was looked at as a security. So if it's looked at as a security, that's similar to a stock. So you have to adhere to basically stock trading rules.
Right.
So,
But they're not making them do that, though.
but they're not making him doing that now. And now that, Gary Gensler's out and, all these people are in with Trump, he's just basically saying like, instead of trying to overregulate it, we're just going to underregulate it. And then that's where we're seeing all of these Wild West pump and dumps coming in. And that's where, things are going to get pretty crazy here in the next 4 years, unless something kind of changes where, President Trump can now tweet out at something. You can hack anybody's Twitter account, and you're going to see, massive amounts of just influence being thrown around in financial markets. And then now there's even more money being thrown around. Before, it was just like retail traders, right? It was like you or I, people without a lot of money being able to be thrown in. Now it's like, all right, you have the BlackRocks of the world who have access to Bitcoin and everything else. And, you've got now potentially nation states like the United States being able to throw billions and billions of dollars at these different kind of cryptocurrencies. So before these pump and dumps, they were a big game, so to speak, because a lot of people with money would potentially throw it around. But now, like the difference of like a billionaire compared to like the United States, which has like trillions of dollars worth of debt on their balance sheet, being able to throw this kind of money around, this gets to an extreme that we've never seen before.
So what's the overall public's like pulse on all this? Like with the Trump thing, like are they like pissed? Like are people thinking like, oh, like I've been scammed, or are they just kind of like, like I've seen CoffeeZilla post a video about it. I've seen other people make videos about it, but it doesn't seem like
it doesn't. I was gonna say it's not like the Democrats are up in arms saying, "Hey, Trump's running a scam." It's a pump and dump scheme. Of course, the way they're probably looking at it is it's just a bunch of conservatives losing money.
Yeah.
Some of them are making money, some are losing money.
Yeah, so they've basically been like kind of the Democrats from that side of things have been promoting that Bitcoin is for criminals, and that's their whole thing. And then they're just kind of conflating it all and saying, hey, Trump is a criminal. He's got X amount of whatever. He's a rapist, all these different kind of things. So this is why he's promoting.
He's a felon.
Yeah. That's why he's promoting Bitcoin. And same thing with Elon. They're like, Elon is, I don't even know what they're saying about Elon these days, but, all the crazy things that they're coming up
He
and
has your
saying.
social security number.
Yeah.
He wants to steal from you.
Yeah, he's a Nazi with that salute and all that kind of stuff, right? Like all these different kind of things. So when you ask them about Bitcoin, and that's the Democrats' first answer is like, well, Elon really hates everybody. It's not for free speech. It's all about control. Elon and Trump and all these people are trying to control you, but they're putting it under the ruse of free speech and freedom and all that kind of stuff, when in reality, it's not really like that. So the overall, I guess, the vibe check from what the question was, the vibe check of everybody for this crypto token that Trump is creating is like, well, he's basically like he's playing with a lot of fire here. Like, why exactly, like you said, like why do this? It doesn't really make any sense. All of these crypto tokens, they have massive amounts of marketing dollars behind them. Why are you getting into bed with things that we've seen that are already, proven to be scams? Like we've seen, FTX, we've seen, all of these other guys, right? Kind of get into bed with these politicians. We've never seen it to this extent. But why are you doing that when we've seen whatever happened like 4 years ago potentially happen again?
Did you see the Tucker Carlson interview with?
Yeah, he got put into like solitary confinement.
Yeah, he got thrown in the shoe for that.
Yeah.
Well, he was supposed to get permission from the public information officer. He didn't.
Oh, so it's kind of his fault. Then how did that even happen? How does he get like a Zoom thing? Does everybody just have access to?
Well, I think in that facility, your visits are through Zoom. So I think probably Tucker Carlson just, they just arranged like, hey, how about we do one through the regular visitation? And he was probably like, yeah, sure, that's fine. It doesn't take much to get approved.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be randomly watching. They obviously didn't randomly watch and realize who Tucker Carlson is, that, hey, this guy's, maybe they're watching, maybe they're not. If the cop's not, if the CO's not watching, then, which obviously he wasn't, or he didn't realize what was happening or didn't realize that it wasn't approved, you could have a whole 30, 45 minute or an hour long conversation. And then Tucker Carlson took it and cut it up and stuck it on the, on his website. And then 2 days later, somebody at the BOP saw it and said, was that approved? And they looked and saw that it wasn't approved. And it said, throw him in the shoe. And she's going to be punished. And they threw him in the shoe.
So then what's happening then from there? Like when you're in the shoe, you just can't.
He'll be there for 20 days or something. They'll give him a shot. It takes about 10 days for them to come see you to write you a shot. So you basically get thrown in the shoe. They don't tell you really anything typically. They just call you in the lieutenant's office. They put handcuffs on you. They arrest you inside of the jail. I always thought that was funny. It's like, what is this? What do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to get away on the compound? Like, I'm not going in. I'm like leaving the prison. Why am I in handcuffs? It's just stupid. They'll handcuff you and they'll march you down to the shoe. And then they check you in and they strip search you and they put you in a cell. And the whole time you could be going, what's going on? What's going on?
So you get like no explanation or anything like that.
So within 10 days, they have somebody who has to come see you. I forget the name of the guy, but he comes and sees you when he's got the report, like the incident report, and he'll say, "Did you get permission to be interviewed by Tucker Carlson?" And SBF's going to be like, "Okay, no, what happened?" See, he's going to be all twitchy and not know what to say, and I didn't think it was a big deal. Okay, well, you were supposed to get. I didn't know that. And okay, well, we're gonna have they have like a little trial where really it's just a couple of guys. And so you say whatever you're going to say. They come back like a few days later, a week later, and you go in front of one or two guys, you argue your case, and then they just make a decision. And they might say, okay, you're going to spend 30 days in the shoe. Of course, you've already done so much time already.
Yeah.
Or they might say, you just lost your commissary for 2 months. So you can't go on or you can't use the phone. Probably that's what they'll do to them. You won't be able to use the phone for anyone other than your lawyer for the next 90 days. And then that'll be it. He'll get a shot. He might lose 3 days or 12 days good time, which is, you get good time. That's it. Like nothing will happen, but he will have to sit in the shoe for a while. And honestly, I don't know what the shoe is like there, but like the shoe in Coleman, like every time I went to the shoe in Coleman, it was like a vacation. Because you're just sleeping. They had a shower in the shoe, and each unit had its own shower, extremely hot water, and you had your own toilet and sink combo, the little silver one, the little stainless steel one, and there's a bed, and sometimes you have a roommate, but usually there aren't that many people, and the COs will come to you and knock on the door, hey man, you want a roommate? And you'd be like, nah, I don't want a roommate. Or they'll come, or you might be like, yeah, send somebody in here. Because I was in the shoe one time for like 45 days.
Yeah.
And after about 20 days, like I was thrilled. I had no roommate, nothing. I kept saying no. After about 20 days, they were like, hey, Cox, you want a roommate? I was like, yeah, send somebody in here.
Yeah.
It had been 20 days. Like I just read straight I was reading like a book every 2 days, but you got to a point after 20 books. I was just like, yeah, send somebody in here. I'm getting a little bored. And that guy came in for like 10 days. No, maybe 5 or 10 days. And then somebody he knew came into the shoe. And they were like catty corner. and then he was yelling, and they're talking across the hallway yelling. And he, obviously you don't want to do that for too long. So
Yeah.
the next time a CO came in, he said, "Can I switch cells?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." So like the next day, I think they switched cells, and
They were just chatting it away.
then they put somebody else in my cell. He was there for 3 days, and I think I left. At that point, I left.
Okay.
I went back to by that point it'd been like 45 days or something. But yeah, it is not that bad. It's not this horrific. People like it was horrible. It was like I was only there for. I've been locked up several times. The longest one was 45 days.
What got you in there for 45 days?
I had been writing letters to a reporter. And he published an article written on the letter about he and I talking. And we talked on the phone several times.
Yeah.
About the interview.
So similar to what? Yeah.
And I went to the shoe.
Okay.
It's funny too because they never really said it. I remember the reason they said they threw me in the shoe was for my own protection, because in the article they interviewed my attorney, and my attorney said Mr. Cox is cooperating with the FBI.
Oh.
So they threw me in for my own protection, not because I had spoken with them. Like that never even came up. They were like, "Look, Cox, this is what they said. This is what the article says. Like, do you feel comfortable going back on the compound?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." It was the medium, but I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm not worried about it."
Yeah.
Like, what nobody here's gonna say. What are they gonna say? I was like 90% of the compound fucking cooperated, and he goes, "More than that." No, actually, I think I said 50%. I go 50% of the 50% of the compound cooperated, bro. Like that, and he goes, "It's way higher than that." He said, but he goes 100%. This is where I got this term. You've heard me say this. He goes, but 100% of them are lying about it. And he's like, so whether they cooperated or not, they're all lying. So they're all going to say they didn't. So basically, you've got an entire compound full of stand-up guys where 90% of them cooperated. So I was like, yeah, I'm not worried about it, because they were going to ship me, and I didn't want to be shipped. My mother lived an hour away and came to see me every couple weeks. So I didn't want to do that. So I said, no, I'll go back on. And I went back on the compound. I was fine.
Nobody even tried you?
No, nobody even bothered me. But, with SBF doesn't even have that problem. His whole thing's like, trust me, these guys would be like, if he came back into the unit like today, guys would be like, bro, what's up, man? He'd be like, I don't know. They're like, what were you thinking? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you try and get permission? He'd be like, I fucking don't know. I was just stupid.
Yeah.
Like it won't be a big deal. For him, it's.
Yeah, he didn't really, I don't know if you watched that. He didn't really say much. He just like, his biggest thing was just like, yeah, like the crypto industry is like still kind of the Wild West and everything else. And that's where I think it's kind of, I guess, like unique, where he was basically, I guess, like fell on the sword, so to speak, for all of the pump and dumps. And then now everybody's just doing it out in the open. And then this guy, he tries to go on. I mean, I'm not saying he's noble or what he did is right or anything like that, but they really tried to make an example out of this guy. I think he said he's going to be in jail for like the next 20, 25 years or something like that.
Yeah, he's got some problems.
Yeah.
He's got some problems. Like, I wonder, we should go back, because remember that video we did where we guessed how much time he would get?
Yeah, I want to say you said something very similar to
what he got, like 20
yeah.
years, 25 years, and he ended up getting close to what I said. And I forget who it was that was saying, was this you?
Maybe.
That said he was going to get 10 years or something, or somebody.
I think it was you and Zach that were on the podcast.
And Zach saying, he probably said, oh, he's going to get 5 years or 10 years or something. But then again, you know what it was? Elizabeth Holmes had gotten such little time. She got like 12 years. And they ended up cutting her sentence down to like 7 years or 9 years. Like, it was ridiculous. Like the amount of time but she's a woman.
Yeah.
We did a whole video yesterday about women getting sentenced.
They get less sentence.
God, bro.
Well, like
So
his
ridiculously low.
SBF's girlfriend didn't even get in jail. I
But
think
she cooperated. Like without
Yeah.
her, it would have been a much different trial. She gutted him.
Yeah.
And
Did you hear about the stuff they were doing? Like allegedly in the corporate office and all that?
What do you mean?
They were basically like they were saying there was like a huge orgy basically going on with all of that, and yeah, it was just a lot of craziness going on. But I mean, obviously, you know, without her, like you said, she sent the text messages that said SBF was basically like, "Oh, sell off a bunch of Bitcoin," you know, dump the price at this point and stuff like that. So
yeah, he was orchestrating the whole thing through her. She's just kind of a button. But yeah, the idea of her and the other people having an orgy is not. It's very distasteful. It'd be different if they was all like attractive people. You know, like
they're
if
all
SBF, if they were all looked good, but they were not. It's not a good look at all.
no.
I don't like to think about that at all.
No, it's a tough scene to look at that, but like allegedly, like I'm saying that Caroline Ellison was just having the time of her life. Like it was not just SBF, but all the guys were just like, you know, going to town, and there was allegedly they were taking a bunch of drugs in this FTX headquarters in Bahamas and just having orgies, and then like, you know, because if you look at him, he's always like kind of like fidgety, kind of all that, and so I think in the Tucker interview they asked him like, "Were you addicted to Adderall?" basically, and he said no, he's never taken it, which kind of seems hard to believe just because of how fidgety he was before, and then in that recent Tucker interview, which, you know, he can't be really on drugs if he's locked up like that.
I mean, he could be, but he's probably not. Like, it's very unlikely that he is. He's got. It's funny. I wonder why. So he's appealing his case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's why he's still there. He should be in a facility right now, a federal facility.
I think he's like in the same facility as Diddy right
He
now.
is.
Yeah. Which
that's
is
what
great.
killed me is the Tucker Carlson's like, I can't believe you're locked up with Diddy. Like he was excited about it. He's like, tell him we said hi. And he's like, bro, no, I wouldn't be like I wouldn't acting all excited about Diddy. Like it's
No, I'm just kind of scrolling through this video about SBF of you and Zach and trying to find your predictions. I saw where he did say that he's gonna get out in his like late 50s, late 60s, but
Yeah.
It's hard to find an exact prediction. But yeah, we've had a guest that has been locked up in that same prison. He was actually locked up with SBF.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he said that some guy was giving him a hard time, right?
Yeah.
So and he kind of protected him.
He protected SBF,
Yeah.
this guy?
Yeah. He said he's just
Like, why would I don't understand? Like, I mean, it's like a financial crime, so I don't get like. Maybe you have better insight than I do, but like with financial crimes, are people trying to go at you in jail? Like more like the white collar stuff, or
what? I mean, go at you in what way? More like it's more like they would probably be trying to extort him. Like buy me something on commissary.
Okay.
Or, I forget
just
exactly.
like kind of bully him, basically.
Yeah, and I forget exactly what Gene had said.
Yeah, I think he kind of what I at least picture in my head. I don't know if it's for something that he said or not, but like that, just you can just tell like by his demeanor and like kind of he's just kind of like a little hermit. Like he probably is getting like could potentially get bullied around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean
Take
he's a
advantage
nerdy
of.
guy.
Yeah.
So
Well, and two, he's arrogant. Like arrogance is not going to go. You can be arrogant when you're the boss and you're pushing everybody else around because you're the one with all the money and they own the company. But in prison, if you're making snide comments to much bigger guys that are drug dealers that are used to being more physical,
yeah,
then
Then you're gonna get your ass
you're gonna
whipped.
get your ass beat. Like
Yeah.
you can't, like you need to watch what you're saying. And if you're smarting off to people or even making little snide comments, like you almost have to be overly polite, to everybody, because otherwise they're looking for an opportunity to be offended and get into an argument or a fight. And with him, you've seen how arrogant he is. I'm sure he
Yeah.
seemed less arrogant.
I'm sure it humbled him a little bit being in prison, to say the very least.
Yeah, and the Tucker Carlson thing, he definitely seemed less arrogant.
Yeah.
But he's
right.
still super odd.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of unique that, we have FTX now, like, still locked up, but, we're still seeing this stuff in plain sight. And now, essentially, everybody's just paying off the government in order to avoid these kind of things and, like, get into bed with the regulators. The problem is SBF just got on the wrong side. And he blew up his thing blew up before Trump was in office. I don't know. Actually, maybe that's
he was. Yeah, come on. He
was
wasn't
also
just
not.
running a.
He was also not buying. So the biggest issue was he was doing is kind of goes back to the difference between like basically running a securities exchange and just not buying anybody's whatever they're saying. So like not buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it is.
Yeah, I thought he was borrowing against.
Yeah, that was the biggest issue with all of that. So I kind of backtrack of what I was saying earlier. So, but
Well, yeah, we can cut that.
yeah. Well, Oliver, the goat there, he
Oliver
sees my
knows.
excitement.
Oliver knows that.
Oliver knows.
What's really sad is that we'll probably lose our Oliver completely. He's going to be like, I don't, these guys seem really smart in the finished product.
Yeah.
These guys they don't really know.
That's another thing about it. I'm like, I don't.
This is a horrible subject too, by the way, because I have no understanding. Even after reading 2 articles, after those articles, I was still like, I don't get it. Like, I feel like if I was Trump, I would not want to put my name on something like that.
I agree, and that's why I think like the biggest issue.
But I
don't think
it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like it's illegal. I feel like I would be smarter about what my name is attached to.
Why don't you think it's illegal? Well, I guess I could. Essentially, right? Insider trading to its core is illegal, right? And that's essentially what's going on.
But just like you said, he's not specifically in charge of that, and he doesn't. He would in order for him to be liable for that, he would have to know that's what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that at no point did anybody come to him and say, here's what we're going to do.
Well, I mean, it's essentially like, right, Nancy Pelosi doesn't know what her husband's investing in, right? It's like it's essentially the same exact thing, right? I mean, Trump's not an idiot. He's going to know anytime you put his name behind something, that thing is going to pump like crazy.
But it's going to do well, right? But that's the whole reason. Why do we put my name on the hotel? Why? Because you're going to get better clients and better people, and people would stay here over someplace else. If that's what his thought process is, yeah, cool. The problem is what he doesn't know is that these guys that it's selling, and that they're going to, once it hits a certain level, they're going to start pulling out their money, and they know it's going to crash. And there's the thing too, is it hasn't really crashed. Like, it's gone up.
Yeah.
First it was shit. Then it went up because he won the election.
Yeah.
Which of course this fakes it. Like, what a great. Like, we're going to dump a ton of money into it, and hopefully this guy wins, and it'll go up. It goes up, and then it goes back down. Did it go back down because they started selling off at lower prices, or did it just go down because it shot up, and then it stopped selling so well, and people started selling out because they thought it's the high end, and then it started going down? And then, like, is this something where they said, hey, we're selling 25% of, we own 50%, we're sell 25. You know what I'm saying? Like, were they in charge of the manipulation of that, of the value of that currency? I don't really know. And then did it completely crash to where it's worth 20 cents a coin?
I mean,
I don't know.
So you're talking about Trump's thing, coin. So it was launched on, I guess, Inauguration Day, January 18th. Let me see if I can get the starting price. I mean, I think it was under $1. The quickest thing I can get is like $8. Then it shot all the way up to 65. 65, 71, and now it's currently at like 10.
Still up.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, like, who is buying the Trump? Like, see, it's launched on Inauguration Day, right?
Right.
So it launched
marketing.
Yeah, but it's launched on Inauguration Day. It goes from what, like $8 to
65
to $65, $70, and then now it's floating at, what'd you say, Colby? 10?
It's at 10.
Yeah, so it's up.
What are you talking about? Overall, it went from $8 to 10.
Okay.
Was there a spike? Yeah, there was a spike. Could it go down to
crazy,
could it go down to $2 and then it goes back up? Yeah, but that's what.
But so the thing that I don't think that you're grasping here is that the way that these crypto tokens work is they call it a pre-mine or a pre-sale. So they only let a select number of investors or venture capitalist or whoever have this token initially when it opens. So when that token hits hits the market and it immediately takes off, very few people from like the retail side of things that don't have insider access have access to what just happened. So there's probably very few people on the retail side of things that got it at $8. Probably majority of people got it above that $10 range that it's at right now, that actually would have open market access to that. So instead of it just being like, hey, it's a crypto token that's on the free and open market and anybody could buy in whenever, and like, oh, I bought it at $8. No, that's not really the case. Majority of these people that actually had access to buy these things bought it over $10 where it's at. So majority of people lost this money. So the people that came in early, all the venture capitalists, all of that, they were the ones that got it and then, saw it run up to the $65 and then dump down. So it sounds on paper like, oh, okay, well, you had the opportunity to buy it at $8 and now it's at 10, you're up. That's really not the case. And that's how all of these things work in reality. So that's why I think that there's an issue with it, and there should be, some problem with it, because it is all insider trading. Like only a select number of people with big dollars have access to this initially.
Do they say what the use case, like what is the purpose, or is it strictly just like a meme? Like, hey, support Trump, be on the team.
They literally said it's a meme coin, like Trump meme coin is what they're calling it.
So there is no like.
There was never supposed to be a benefit.
Yeah.
Like there is no benefit. So the benefit is I'm able to donate to the cause.
Exactly.
It's like my Patreon. You're not getting anything back. This is not, there's at no point will the $10 a month that you're paying into Patreon be worth anything more. And at no point are you getting that money back. It's not going into a fund. This is just $10 wasted every single month, unless.
Maybe that's a better marketing ploy than the live streams.
Yeah.
Just donate to me because we need the money.
Well, I listened to a video on the way over here, and it was saying that I want to say that they were saying like this is a way for him to be funded by these other countries. Like these other countries can like pump money in, and he's able to pull it out, and nobody knows how.
But he's not pulling it out. Like he doesn't own any of the coin.
There is there's what one.
Well, he's getting 75% of it.
Yeah.
So if they put $100 million into it, he's getting 75 million.
And there is one account that has like 75% of the Trump coin in its wallet or something like that.
Yeah, I mean there was at one point in time, right? It's gotten sold off, but the reality is just like because of Trump and because of him being able to say, hey, the U.S. is going to do this, I'm going to sign this executive order, all this and that. Like people have just made so much money off of it by doing this insider trading. Like I said at the beginning, there was this, putting in a couple $100 million to make $10 million on 50-time leverage. Like you saw how much the Trump coin went from literally $8 to 65 back to 10, right? Like imagine like a 1 or 2% movement on that. That's like, 80 cents or whatever, or, a couple dollars on that Trump coin. Well, like with Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, that happens at the drop of a hat. So if you're able to do this and know which way the market's going to move, you can take huge leverage that nobody else can really play with and then make massive amounts of money right away. And that's what all of these guys are doing, right? So there's this, theory and kind of like the conspiracy of all of these people, other countries and everything like that being able to get involved with it. There's also, I guess rumors floating around that all these other countries are buying Bitcoin underneath the table. Who knows really what's happening until that all officially comes out. But the reality is like Trump is kind of utilizing all of this to pump and dump a lot of things. And basically, all of these shit coins are at the forefront of it. But I mean, there's been rumors of other countries using Bitcoin and everything like that to avoid sanctions. Like Russia allegedly was selling oil and gas using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to avoid the U.S. sanctions when Biden was president. But I don't know if that's something that really sparks your interest there.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, what's Trump's like plan with crypto? Like he wants crypto for like the whole economy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what's his thing?
So Trump wants to be known as the first crypto president. So Yeah, I don't know if
He wants to tie. He wants to tie the American dollar to Bitcoin, right? Kind of like we were tied to the gold standard.
Yeah, I don't think that's really possible. What he wants to do is basically have like a bunch of Bitcoin on the U.S. balance sheet. So there's going to be a few different ways that we're going to do that. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, where they're tossing around the idea of buying up anywhere from like 1 million to 5 million Bitcoin, which I don't know, valued at like 80,000. That's like in the trillions of dollars worth of Bitcoin over 4 or 5 years. And then they're also looking at creating a sovereign wealth fund, which basically just invests in a bunch of different companies and things like that. Like a lot of the big nations have that, except for the problem with the U.S. is that we operate at a deficit right now. So we're getting more and more in debt every single year. So that's a big reason why Elon is in there with the Doge to cut a lot of the government spending, because we're, funding things like, transitioning rats and stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you have a smoking gun
You don't
on
think
Trump. I don't think there's a smoking
I
gun.
don't think it's a smoking gun on Trump necessarily. I think that it's just like all of these crypto guys are getting in with Trump right now in order to, essentially pump their own bags. And Trump doesn't know enough right now in order to like kind of come at it. And so his thing is essentially allowing all these people with a bunch of money coming in and saying, hey, like, we'll give you X amount of dollars for this campaign, for whatever it is. And then we're going to make tenfold on that. And we're going to come in and rug pull all of these people. And, Trump and his campaign are going to, and his team are going to benefit off of that. And then they're going to use all this to, who knows what, but, essentially pump and dump back to try to pay off the debt, it seems.
Do you think crypto will ever not have the
Stigma.
scam stigma?
So I think that as long as you have the cryptocurrencies that have like a marketing department or something along those lines, there are always going to be some sort of scam associated with it because it's just human greed. The unique thing with Bitcoin is that there's no marketing department. Like the creator of that just kind of disappeared. So that's why, in my opinion, it's the only legitimate one, because everything else, you get the XRP guy going in with President Trump, and he's paying millions of dollars to get in the room with him. He's paying millions of dollars to get that mentioned in the crypto strategic reserve. And eventually those marketing dollars are going to run out unless this pump and dump scheme keeps going along. Right. So all of these crypto bros are basically coming in and just saying, hey, pump our bags and we'll continue to feed you more and more money. And the reality is the only one that doesn't have that is Bitcoin. And that's why it's unique in a sense, because it doesn't have a marketing company coming in and pumping millions of dollars into, paying off a campaign guy in order to get this mentioned or this Truth Social post out there. And so I think that's the issue.
For the average everyday person, what's the purpose of crypto other than just an investment? Like, I think I used to know the answer, like, why people would use crypto, but it's been a couple years and I've just totally not paid attention to it and I kind of forgot.
Yeah, so the use case of Bitcoin is basically like peer-to-peer cash. I don't know if this is
useless.
like
Yeah, but is there like a huge transaction fees? Because
no, there's not. So like you can transact things to Bitcoin, or you can send micropayments of Bitcoin to everyday people, right? So like, for example, I don't know where you guys have your editors. I have an editor in Pakistan. I have an editor like all over the world. So to send them money, it's very difficult. You got to send them money through, I don't know, like Western Union or something else. I could send them $10 over the Lightning Network in Bitcoin. They'll get it in an instant, and it's a final transaction, and that will cost me no money whatsoever. Whereas if I were to send somebody, $10 over Western Union, it wouldn't make any sense because the fee is like $20, $30 in order to do that. So I'd have to send massive amounts of money. So you can send essentially quick and easy micro payments, and you don't need an intermediary such as a bank. So that's why that's basically the use case for Bitcoin. cryptocurrency will try to tell you that you can put anything on a blockchain, and that's, making it more efficient. In reality, a blockchain is not really efficient at all. But
do you think crypto will like take over eventually at one point where it's like everybody's using it to transact, or do you think that's not a real reality?
I think eventually we'll get to a place where it's either something like the dollar is backed by Bitcoin, which is kind of like the indirect way of where we're going with Trump building the strategic reserve and having all these different kinds of assets on it. But I think eventually we'll get to somewhere where, they won't want governments in charge of money, so to speak. People are going to be very resistant of that, but something like Bitcoin can be used in order to transact where, it'll let people transact money whenever, wherever. So like, for example, right, like everybody knows Kanye West. He's billionaire, but, he started tweeting some crazy shit, and Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan shut off the access to all of his money. And, like a couple years ago from a bank, right? So you can do that right now with bank and money that's controlled by somebody else. But as people kind of see this sort of dystopian way that potentially banks can manipulate you, they're going to lead towards something like a Bitcoin where you can hold it on your phone, you could hold it, personally, and you don't need that intermediary. You can have all the access to your money. Before that was like cash, right? Like people would have cash everywhere. Drug dealers would have cash beneath these walls and everything like that. Now, like 90% of the dollars that are in circulation aren't printed. So in order to actually access your money, it's reality. It's just a number on a screen at your bank. So what you can use Bitcoin for is essentially as like peer-to-peer cash, right? So if I wanted to pay you right now, I could pay you and I don't need permission from somebody else. Now, if I were to pay you with my bank account, you need like Venmo, Cashapp, Zelle, all these different kind of things. And so Zelle or, Chase or Capital One or whatever these bank accounts are, they can shut off your bank account in an instance. And so this will kind of let you be more free to transact as you please. I'm killing this guy.
Bro, it's not you. I promise it's not you. I am exhausted. Are you upset?
No, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I don't care.
Yeah, with crypto, I was going to say that they could do the whole. You can only spend $300 on gas a month. You can only spend so much money on groceries. You can only buy so much meat.
Well, that's what's going on in China right now. They have their own. They call it like a CBDC, so it's like a central bank digital currency. So instead, like right now in the U.S., the way it's structured is like there's 400 different banks that you could potentially have a bank with.
Right.
Well, in China, there's not that many. Like in Canada, there's like 6. Like around the globe, they don't really have as much access to different banks as we do.
Yeah.
So it's easier to control. So China has this CBDC that they've issued to people and encourage them to use it, and then they issue a social credit score. So say you eat too much meat, you watched too much porn, you played too much video games, you did whatever that they didn't like, you gambled too much, whatever it is, they limit your access to your money. And, we saw that a couple years ago in Canada, happen just up the road from us in the Great White North, where, these truckers were protesting over, not wanting to get a vaccine and to work, and they shut off all of their bank accounts from that, and people that donated to them as well. So despite like everybody probably potentially watching this that's like American or whatever, like this happens around the globe, and it happens to people as well. I mean, just say what you want about Kanye, but having a guy that's, billionaire, having his bank account shut off because people didn't like him.
Can happen to anybody.
Yeah, it could happen to anybody. And like, it depends what circle you're in. Like JP Morgan, Chase also is the bank for Jeffrey Epstein. They never shut down his bank account the entire time he was doing nefarious things. So like, it just really depends, like, who's your inside circle and kind of utilizing their judgment in order to keep bank accounts open and closed and whatever. And I'm sure, when you kind of came out, I don't know, maybe you can tell me, when you came out, was it harder for you to get a bank account with everything or no?
It was, I know guys
Yeah.
that have fraud charges that literally cannot open a bank account.
Yeah.
Like they'll go open the bank account and 3 days later it's closed. In fact, I know a guy who opened a bank account at his mother's bank, and when they realized that that this was his son, they closed his bank account and they closed hers.
Yeah.
She'd been with the bank for like 30 years. So I know that I opened a bank account at Bank of America when I got out. I had opened one at Wells Fargo. That was fine. I opened one at Bank of America. They took my, whatever it was, $1,200 or $800, whatever it was I opened it with. And about a week later, I got a check in the mail saying they closed it. When I asked why, they were like, well, we don't want to like you can call this number. And they called the number and they're like, yeah, we don't really have to tell you why. But the only reason, it was the only bank I'd had a problem with. The only reason it would have been is because I do owe them a considerable amount of money, a few $1 million. I feel that they're holding resentment. And it's like that. Like that was 20 years ago. Like, get over it, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, apparently that was the only one though. It was the only one. And that's what I think it was. I think that on the books I owe them money. And they were like, this guy again. Not this time. So yeah, I think that's it. But I know guys that have fraud charges that literally they have a hard time opening a bank account for some reason. There's some kind of a system out there. But I think my charge is so old that maybe I'm not a part of that system, or maybe it only stays on so long that if you fall off after some point, And I'm harmless. Like in my name, I never screwed any banks over in my name.
Okay.
Not in my name.
Yeah, that's right. I guess maybe that's the ruse. Maybe that's why.
I don't know. I don't think they're thinking that far into it. They'd be like, no, he signed up as him. He's fine.
Yeah.
But that didn't. They're just like, oh, that guy. So whatever. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Because I would have thought like, you probably would have had a little bit more difficult of a time.
You would have thought.
Yeah.
You would have thought. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Just like when I got out, I had been locked up so long, I had no credit. So by the time I left the halfway house, I had a 754 credit score by the time I walked out of the halfway house. Because as soon as I got there, I got 3 secure credit cards. I just made the minimum payments, or not the minimum. I didn't really put anything on them.
Yeah.
So I barely made any payments. I had almost no debt on the card. So by the time 6 months had passed, and scores appear after 6 months, and they gave me scores. My first set of scores were like 754.
Yeah.
So it was kicking ass. I was like, nice. And it was like, you walked out of prison, out of the halfway house with a 750 credit score. I'm like, yeah. But I know other guys who will go to prison for 3 years, and when they get out, their credit's ruined. It hadn't been so long that it fell off. For like 7 or 8 years, all your bad debt starts falling off your credit. So by the time I'd been locked up so long, that it was 13 years plus 3 years on the run. It's 16 years. After 16 years, there's nothing on my credit. Yeah. I walked off. They were like, I went to go get my credit pulled, and they were like, there's
stand-up
nothing.
citizen, huh?
Yeah, legit. I'm legit.
Yeah. What do you think of the JFK files? Do you think that they're actually going to get released? Because, I mean, we've had Trump now kind of say it a couple times. I honestly...
He said yesterday, he said 80,000 will be released today.
Yeah.
Unredacted.
I mean, he's also he's been, everything that he said he's going to do, he has done.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
I think what's funny is there was a Tucker Carlson interview recently with, what's his name? Chris Como or something. I don't know. I can't remember his name. Anyway, This was like a former journalist from CNN. Real jackass. Anyway, he's on there, and I think he was interviewing Tucker Carlson on his podcast, and they were going back and forth, not in a bad way. It's funny too, because he was actually pretty funny. He was comical. Like, he wasn't as much of a jackass as I was hoping he would be. I really felt like he would be. He was actually kind of funny. And his whole thing was he was first, he started off talking about how he doesn't believe in the deep state. That's just silliness. But then as they talked about it, he was like, well, I feel like this is what's his name? Chris Como? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're
White
talking about.
guy, CNN.
Como and Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah, Chris Como, CNN. Let's see if I got
Chris
it.
Como and
Yeah, I
Tucker
think
Carlson.
it was.
Oh, nice. It is him. Yeah, Chris Como. Oh, I got it right.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember what he had something come out where he was like sexually harassing some lady at CNN.
Oh, no.
That's why he got fired.
Well, he also did the whole Joe Rogan is taking dewormer medication, and they all did that. He's just a jackass. But so when he's talking to what's his name, so at first he starts out like, I don't believe in the deep state, I don't believe in all that. That's just silliness. But then as the conversation goes on, he ends up saying, well, I feel like when someone like Trump gets in or Obama or whoever, like they have these things that they want to do, and then they fall to the wayside and they don't do them. He's like, because I feel like somebody goes to them and kind of says, look, you can't do that. Like and here's why, and you just can't do it. We're telling you don't do it. He's like, I feel like there's, and Tucker Carlson goes, yeah, the deep state.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the deep state that you don't believe in. That guy, because he kept talking about how there's a machinery that's at work that you enter into, and so you don't necessarily have as much control as you think. And Tucker Carlson's like, that's the deep state. You do believe in the deep. He's like, no, not like you guys believe in it. It was just like, anyway. But yeah, they were saying like he feels like when Trump first entered office, he was going to do all these things, and then he kind of just brushed it off. Like he did. He's like, look, once I realized what was in the JFK files, I realized I can't release those.
Yeah.
So that was and then now 4 years later, then you get you lose the election, you retake the White House. Now you're like, I'm releasing them no matter what. I'm releasing them. But yet they don't get released. Same thing with like Epstein. You release them. Okay, well, what you released was a joke. We had an interview with a guy who talks about how he did a bunch of investigation into Epstein. He wrote a book on it. Oh, no, he didn't write a book about it. He wrote about a similar situation.
Similar trafficking ring, yeah.
Right. He said that he had done a Freedom of Information Act on Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they said, no, it's a open investigation. We can't release anything. He was okay. So then Max Garzon, whatever her name, Maxwell.
Ghislaine
Maxwell.
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell goes to trial or gets sentenced, whatever.
Yeah.
FBI director or whoever it was, somebody in the FBI comes out and says because people are like, what about this? What about this? They're like, we're not, that's it. We're done with this whole case. The prosecution, no more. It's done. We're closing the books. The case is closed. It's closed.
Yeah.
We're no longer investigating anything into Epstein. It's closed. Okay. So he said, I filed another Freedom of Information Act. These Information Acts takes 6 months, 3 months for them to even say, we just got it. Yeah. We'll be working on it in a few months. 3 months later, they start working on it. They sent him a letter and said, yeah, we can't process your request because it's an ongoing investigation. The case is still open. Talking about 6 months ago, the director came out and said it was closed.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Then he said he filed again. They came back and they said, can't give you anything because it's a matter of national security. National security? It's a pedo case.
Yeah.
How is that national security? Like, this is just bullshit.
Yeah. So I don't know. So do you believe in the deep state?
I hate to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I kind of do. I kind of, I don't know. Like, who are those people? Do you see them all the time? Is there like this sub-organization and we never see any of these guys? Or is it something like there are people that come to you and do say, listen, I know you want to release the JFK files, but listen, if you release them, here's what's in it. And here's what we believe the fallout from that will be. You'll be talking about Israel. You'll be talking like you suddenly say these are our, and some of the people that were involved are still around in Israel or are still, or let's say, whatever I don't know what the outcome is, or the CIA was involved.
Yeah.
And so we're afraid that the American people will be insist that we close the CIA, we dismantle it, or that we put such controls on them, they will be inept. There'll be such oversight and such bureaucracy that the CIA will be able to won't be able to function. And you might as well close it. It's just a bottomless pit of money. And it takes so long to get anything done. And there's so much oversight that there's no way for them to run a clandestine organization anymore. So it destroys our CIA, and we need the CIA. So then you're like, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not a separate organization, a sub-organization within the government. Maybe it's just, maybe these things don't come out simply because their fear is what is the fallout going to be if it does? And you think, oh, these people are dead. No, that's not the fear. The fear is it closes down organizations that we actually need. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely think there is.
Think
right?
there is? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know to what extent though. That's where I'm kind of, I guess, hairy on. I have a buddy, his name's Ian Carroll. He just went on like Rogan fairly recently, and he was talking about the reason that Epstein doesn't, that list hasn't been released is because of the connection to Israel. So, Trump has been making a big, hubbub of how much money they're saving and by not giving to the Ukraine. But if you check and see how much they're giving to Israel, they're still funding the shit out of the Israel war. So there's got to be something there, and there's some reasoning why. And there's some connection to Israel, but I don't really know too much into it. And then, if you look back at all of the different characters kind of throughout history, like the way the Federal Reserve is intertwined, like how that all was created, it was basically all these bankers came together. And then, I think in reality, everything's kind of, I guess, manipulated by the money in the background. And so what makes a lot of money, it's just chaos in general. So like what made a bunch of money during 2020, obviously the crisis, right? COVID or whatever it is, right? So that made all the pharmaceutical companies a bunch of money. War makes all of the arms companies a bunch of money, and there's just a shit ton of money to be thrown around in all these different things. So I think if you can control the money and you need some sort of boost in whatever it is, you just create some sort of chaos and putting it under the ruse of, oh, well, they did something wrong, so we need to go attack them. And then it's all this manipulation between the media and everything else, right? Kind of like what Cuomo was saying, where, they would tell you can say a certain thing. Mm-hmm. And if you can control the media, you can control the narrative, and then you have the ability to just print the money underneath it and just make money out of thin air, which is basically what they've been doing since we got off the gold standard.
It's been running a long time.
Yep, since 1971. I mean, if you look back to, like, there's a great website called, like, WTF Happened in 1971. You look at the obesity rate in the United States, all of a sudden starts to spike. The autism rate for children starts to spike. Like, everything in this, like, since 1971 just magically started to spike at that time, and it's people started making goods for a lot cheaper, pumping us with whatever it is, pharmaceuticals, shots, all that to keep us sick. I think in reality, like, everything is kind of manipulated based at the base layer of everything, which is just like the money, what we use to exchange things. And that's why, I mean, maybe I'm kind of hopeful that like RFK and Trump and these guys come in and change everything. And I think like a reason they tried to kill Trump was because like they had a feeling that he was going to expose the deep state. Like, do you really think that this 18-year-old kid was able to, shoot him from that, tower, or not that tower, but that rooftop, and like avoid all that Secret Service?
Well, I believe that. I do believe that. He wasn't that far away. What I think is that he didn't do it by himself.
Yeah, exactly.
What I think is, and this is what's funny is, and I've mentioned this once or twice, is that people are, he's this kid, he got help. Like, but how do you find that kid? I don't think it's that difficult to find it. I think you go to the NSA and you say, listen, we need somebody young. Doesn't even matter how old they are. We need somebody so Trump's going to be here in the next 6 months in these 4 locations, or these 15 locations. We need people within a 20-mile radius that have gone on social media, that have said negative things about him, that also are active shooters, that shoot regularly. how many people are actively saying negative things that are within a 20-mile radius or 25-mile radius of these events? Okay, boom, we got 5,000. Okay, how many of them have that we can connect weapons to? Okay, boom, we're down to 150. How many of them have said violent things about Trump? Okay, bam, we're down to 25. Okay, then how many of those people don't have a family, don't like meet the criteria of a lone wolf type thing? Boom, we're down to 6. Okay, great. All you have to do is take CIA agent to go to this guy and say, we looked at your posts, we saw what you said, we see that you were on the sniper rifle team in Buchan High School or attempted to be on it, that you're an active shooter. We see that you go here to shoot. We can see your credit card information for your dad. You guys shoot regularly. Your dad recently bought you a gun. Like all through social media and through watching your stuff, NSA is going to know all that. They'll read everything on your phone.
Yeah.
And now you think, okay, well, and here's what really is telling is that you go to 5 of those guys and you convince them to all like, we're going to pave the way for you to be on a roof and take this guy out. Once you've taken him out, we'll make sure you can get away. You're going to get X amount of dollars, and you're going to be a lone shooter that gets away. Nobody will know who you are, everything. You will leave. That'll be it. There'll be some random photographs of you at a distance, but they'll never be able to track you down. Or maybe we're going to have you disappear and give you $10 million and relocate you to another place. Young kid, he thinks, yeah, I'm saving America. And so you get 5 of those guys. You put them, you put this one kid. He happens to be the first one. He goes on. They put him on the fucking roof. He takes his shot. They know immediately, like, oh, we see somebody. Don't fire. Don't fire. Don't fire. Don't fire. Once he rips off a bunch of rounds, boom, 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 boom. The guy on his own, the sniper shoots him. He didn't get an order. He says, "Fuck that!" Boom, and shoots him. I don't care what these guys are telling me not to shoot him. Fuck it. Boom. Because if they had waited for him to say fire, he'd have gotten off a whole nother clip.
Yeah.
He'd have definitely killed him. Instead, this guy shoots him immediately without authorization. Okay. The kid's dead, which is fine because it was what they want anyway. They want him dead.
Yeah.
They just wanted Trump dead first. Then here's the odd thing. What kid who's an activist, who's given to the Democratic Party, who clearly obviously has an issue with Trump, doesn't have any social media?
Yeah, I know. That's the unique. They scrubbed everything.
They scrubbed his whole house. They scrub everything. They scrub his social media, everything. You can't get any of it.
Yeah.
Nobody, no kid says, I'm going to kill this person. Nobody commits that horrific of an act without first bitching and moaning and complaining to everybody he knows about this and goes nuts on social media, because that's the last result. That's not your first course of action is murder. That does not, nobody's first course of action. It's always they're upset. They go to rallies. They tell all their friends. Their friends are like, shut up about this. I don't want to hear this. All you do is talk about this. Yeah. They go on social media. They go on Facebook. They go on everything. He has none of that. He has none of it. How does that happen?
Yeah. It's a buildup, right? Exactly. So that's where I think it's the unique part of all, or the unique set of circumstances that is kind of hairy with all that. And that's why I believe in the deep state. And then, they also had another shooter who allegedly tried to go kill him at his golf course a couple weeks later, but they didn't find him or whatever.
No, they found him.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. You're talking about the one where they did arrest the guy?
Yeah, they arrested the guy, but then nothing really came out about those people.
You know what's funny? You can't, the Luigi guy, we know everything about.
Yeah.
Every post, his manifesto, every post he's ever written, every single thing, all of his buddies, everything. But these 2 guys that tried to kill Trump, you don't hear anything about these guys.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't know.
One guy's dead. The other one, I didn't really hear anything.
I didn't really even hear the other guy's name. I knew the other guy was Thomas Crooks or something.
Yeah, Crooks was the one guy.
Or something.
The second guy is an older guy who's kind of a crackpot. He's just a crackpot in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you're saying there's another potential shooter. Supposedly, I'm sorry, this is something else. It's funny, this was the shooter for JFK. Supposedly, because I interviewed a guy about JFK, and he was talking about supposedly 2 weeks prior to that, the Secret Service found out that there were 2 guys on the roof of a building
Just like scoping it out.
That were planning on killing or shooting Kennedy, and they scrapped the whole, that little drive, right? They scrapped the whole thing. You never heard about that, So it was like they scrapped the whole thing because they had found out that there were these guys and scrapped that. Then Dallas happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe that JFK was assassinated. I don't want to believe in UFOs. I don't want to believe there's all the lies that I've been heard throughout my whole life. I don't want to believe that the government was lying to me.
Well, the government does.
I think they might have been, though.
Oh, that's the problem, right?
I don't want to believe that they're listening to my phone messages. I don't want to believe that.
Yeah.
Obama said that wasn't true. He said that didn't happen. And then 6 months later, Snowden came out and was like, no, I did this. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the reality, right? Is like the government has been lying to us for a very long time. And then it's like now just because we have the, spread of information, like, Instagram, Twitter, all these different things, we see their lies and, in 4K, and then they come and, we catch them red-handed. And that's where
we have such short attention spans that we don't focus on it. 2 weeks later, I'm not even thinking about what happened 2 weeks ago. It's over. Now I'm thinking about the Haktua girl and how funny that is. And I'm sending out, 40 people in a day. I'm sending out Haktua fucking songs to.
Yeah.
I don't even think about Nancy Pelosi and her $200 million in fucking insider trading.
I know. Well, that's the thing, right? Is like, I think before we had the government, that their ability to manipulate everything was the media. They can control the media, the newspapers, the TV, whatever. Now we have like independent journalists, podcasts, whatever, where people can have these conversations with people and publish it to, millions of people every single day. And then, that's not necessarily control. I mean,
it's a better conversation than that Trump thing, by the way.
Okay.
I was going to mention that I watched. It was me actually. My wife started to watch it, and then we'll be watching something I'm super into, and all of a sudden she'll stand up and walk away, and I don't see her again for an hour. I thought we were watching this, but we were not. I was watching it. You were tolerating it. Anyway, it was an Unsolved Mysteries. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
So Unsolved Mysteries in 1982.
Okay.
No, that's not true. That's another date I was looking up. That was Blade Runner. No, this was 1989. In 1980, you don't know, when were you born?
94.
Fuck, motherfucker. In 1989, Unsolved Mysteries came out. Keep in mind, people don't even understand this.
Yeah.
Like people watching this right now, like 80% of the people watching this are like, I don't understand what you're saying, Matt. Was it on YouTube? No. This was when we had 3 channels.
Yeah.
We had 3 major channels, and we had 1 local channel, Channel 44. And so on the 3 major channels, there was a program called Unsolved Mysteries, and they did something on Roswell in 1947. There was a supposedly there was an accident, and there was a UFO that crashed on a rancher's cattle area. And he went out and he found debris, and he contacted the authorities. Now, what later comes out is that there was a debris field, and 27 miles away, they find a ship.
Okay.
All he found was the debris field.
Yeah.
So either that skipped, or there was an explosion and then it crashed and the debris was there. He calls the army, the military.
How do you just call the military at this point?
Well, this is back in 1947. You probably pick up a call and you pick up the one phone number, and he called them.
Yeah.
And Jennifer at the local military base answered and said, hey, Jennifer, this is Jim down at, hey, Farmer Jim. Yeah. You're not going to believe that I found some alien shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And so they send the army down there, and they get there and they collect a bunch of the debris, and they bring it back to the military base, and the lieutenant or colonel or whoever was in charge at the time puts out a press release. We just found an alien craft. We've got alien debris. He's not thinking because he's one of these guys who grew up and he's thinking you don't lie about these things. You tell the media, and the government doesn't lie, and they would want everyone to know. Like he's a doo-doo-doo. He doesn't have any fucking clue. There's no such thing as conspiracy theories back then.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to hide aliens. So he makes a press release. The following day, so it's everywhere. The next day, it's everywhere, all over the wire. The wire goes out, and it's in all newspapers saying, hey, alien crash. The military has possession of a crashed alien ship.
Mm-hmm.
They then, immediately, he gets a phone call, and they put him on like a helicopter or a plane, and they fly him someplace else, Oklahoma, wherever it is. Fly him someplace. He walks in with a bunch of debris. They bring a bunch of the debris with him. He walks in. The colonel walks in. He's like, yeah. And the colonel's like, oh, that's debris. Wow, that's amazing. Come on in here. And they walk into a conference room, and they talk for about 10 minutes. Tell me what happened. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, okay, great. He said they walk back out. All the debris is gone. He said, and they go into another area, and they have a bunch of plasticky, shiny plasticky stuff. It's actually a weather balloon.
Okay.
A torn up weather balloon. And they say, here's what's going to happen. You're going to pick up the debris. We got a camera guy here. We're going to take a bunch of photos. It was a mistake. What you saw was a weather balloon. The description's close. It was shiny material. It was whatever. That's what you saw. He's like, it's not what I saw. He's like, that's what you saw.
Yeah.
You're going to take pictures with it. We're going to put out a report. It was a mistake. And essentially, you're the fall guy who made a mistake. And we're covering all this up. They don't say cover up, but he sits in. There's photos of him holding up looking like, you could see he's like looking off film, and he's surrounded by guys. He's taking we'll take you out in the middle of nowhere and shoot you. You can't be fucking putting out press releases about crafts.
But aliens.
So the town folk days later, it starts coming out that they see the military comes in and they go through the entire field inch by inch, picking up every single piece of debris. Then then they find the craft 27 miles away, and they bring in an 18-wheeler, and they take it in a crane. They put it on the 18-wheeler. They're covered up in a big tarp. But people in the town, which they have to drive through, see this huge thing. They're telling them it's a downed airplane, or it's an experimental tank. Don't worry about it. And they're like, there's clearly what they thought was a UFO or some kind of an odd ship of some kind. It was covered up in a tarp, but it's not like they had a special made tarp. Like it barely fits on this fucking thing. So they take that to wherever, Oklahoma or some fucking place in Area 51, and they start doing it. They also found supposedly 3 bodies. Now that's the whole thing that I watched when I was 18 years old. Yeah. 19 years old. They just re-showed the whole thing on. They have Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
I watched it yesterday, where they went back to that episode, and they talk about how that episode blew that story up. Prior to 1989, no one had ever taken it seriously. These guys had written books. These guys, there have been people that were a part of the whole thing that had written books that didn't sell, that nobody would put in. They literally would get phone calls. They would call the radio stations and the news stations and say, and the military would call and say, don't cover this. Yeah. When pilots would be flying, commercial pilots would fly and see something crazy, it's a great, if you ever watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's great. Okay. Because these 2 planes are flying and they see something, and they call in to the tower. And more air traffic controllers are gathering around the mics and listening to what they're saying. They're like, oh, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I just saw this. And the other guy's like, and they're like, no, I'm 2 miles away from you. I saw it too. It circled our plane. It was insane. I've never seen that. And they're sitting there going on. They're like, oh. And so then finally they say, okay, so what you're saying is you saw a unidentified flying object. And no, it's crazy. And they said, okay, would you like us to make an official report? And you just silence. And then the guy, police, he's like, do you want to go on record as the guy's bosses here, his supervisor's like, again, it's like, do you want to go on record? And suddenly the guy's like, I'm not sure what I saw. And the other guy's like, it could have been a flash of lightning, to be honest with you. These are two pilots talking. They're 2 miles away flying. They just saw this thing. You know what? I'm
backtrack.
I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know what that was, to be honest. And they backtrack completely, bro. Now, granted, it's a movie, but it's a great, because what's happened now is now that like the UFO things come out, fucking there's all kinds of pilots coming out saying, I've been seeing them for fucking 20 years. I've been seeing them for 30 years. Why didn't you report it? You report it, you don't fly again.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking laughingstock. And that's when I grew up. If you had told me you saw, one of my friends had told me something like that, or some guy's father said that, we would have mocked that motherfucker to the point where they would have wanted to move. I mean, it would have been, because that's how stupid and silly it was for you to believe in UFOs.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, bro, but I believe in UFOs. And it's the same thing with like the JFK thing. When JFK, the movie came out, like everybody was, half the country was like, yeah, that seems crazy. And half of them were like, it's a fucking movie, man. It's not what happened.
Yeah.
Now, I still don't believe that the movie has it accurate. I still fucking believe. Now I believe that it was probably much worse than I definitely think there were multiple shooters, but I don't know I don't know the backstory between how they put it together, but I don't watch that video again, or that movie again. It's a great video. You've never watched it. That's an amazing. Have you ever seen that JFK?
No, I haven't.
My God. Oliver Stone did it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, I believe it. Like I said, I believe in like the deep state and all this stuff. And it's just like now we have the access to spread information. Like our microphone's a lot louder now. So we can actually uncover some of these things. We have independent people that can't be silenced to a certain point.
But someone like me, my age, being raised when I was raised, I find it absolutely, it's just so overwhelmingly difficult to even say that there's a deep state, or that the government they colluded to kill Kennedy, or like all of these conspiracy theories out there, that they're true. That it really bothers me. Like someone your age or Colby, they are very easy to jump into. Yeah, absolutely. Where you could lay it all out to me, and I'd be like, this can't be right. Because
Why?
I just think because of my age and I'm programmed. Keep in mind, I would have mocked you if you told me they were UFOs.
Yeah.
Up to 5 or 6 years, I was in prison with a guy that believes in UFOs. Just saying that he believes in UFOs, I automatically puts him into the crazy category.
Yeah.
He's insane. And yet, I'm watching programs from the Navy where they've got UFOs on the fucking screen. And I'm still thinking, it can't be. It can't be. I think you get older and you're genetically programmed to, it'd be like being raised Catholic your entire life. And then one day aliens come down and try and tell you, listen, there is no God. We planted you guys here. It would be almost inconceivable for you to convince that Catholic that there's no such thing as God.
Yeah.
Even though you're like, the aliens came down, they landed, you saw them, we explained, we got movies, we planted you here. It's evolution. It's something that's not right. It's ingrained in you to feel that way. For me, at my age.
So what's changed then? Because
I don't know that because now the problem is when you're faced with so much overwhelming evidence, it's still, I believe that there has to be some kind of I don't know if it's a deep state. Something's going on. And I believe in that there's UFOs. There's got to be something there. And I think that Kennedy was assassinated, and it has to be something like, I think probably LBJ worked with the CIA to have somehow or another have Kennedy assassinated. I don't know about all the Israeli contacts and this and that, and I don't know about all that. Like, I don't know. If that came out later, okay, great. Then I'm wrong, and they were behind it, or maybe it was the mob, or maybe it was the Cubans. I don't know exactly. And this is the other thing. We talked about this in that video. I don't think that anybody involved in that would have allowed any of that information to continue to exist. If I was LBJ and I was involved, I would have hired one guy
Just
and
burn
said,
it.
for the next 4 fucking years, you are going through every single possible file and you are eliminating anything that can connect me to this. And that guy's like, Stalin would purge people.
Yeah.
You crossed him, and he'd have you killed, and you'd have your family sent to the gulags, and then they had a team of guys that would go through all the records and eliminate your name on any document, any photos you were in. They scratch you out, they'd eliminate you from existence. That's what you'd hire a guy full time just to get rid of that all for the next 4 years.
Then do you think there actually is the JFK files then?
I think that whatever they release, I'm thinking it probably says nothing, because whatever that true conspiracy is, I think that those documents just don't exist anymore. There's probably going to be nothing that can connect you.
Then why not release them earlier?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just to let the conspiracy kind of live on. I don't know. I
can't imagine. Think about it. If you were if you were in charge of it, and you had that kind of power, would you have anything? Would you be okay with, we'll seal them? Sealing them?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's sealed. I don't know that, we're going to keep them in the file in the FBI. There, that file room in the back. We'll just put a little thing on it that says sealed until 2010. It'll be fine. I'd be like, I got a better idea. Let's take those fuckers out back and burn them in the burn barrel. Let's do that.
Yeah.
How about that?
I mean, it is interesting, right? I mean, I agree with you. I don't see it really making sense for them to keep it. But I mean, at a certain extent too, is with the Twitter files and stuff, why did they keep those as well?
Yeah.
But then Elon released them. So I mean, I can see why Twitter maybe would keep those files. It's a company, right? You can do that. But with the government, like you're saying, if you are in charge of everything, why not just get rid of all the evidence? It seems like it'd be all right, I can make the perfect crime and just wipe my hands clean of all of it. Maybe there's too many people that are too buttoned up that don't want you to do that. But I feel like if you're the president, or you're making these pulling these levers in the background, like the deep state probably is, then you can just say burn it.
Yeah, you would think, right? Listen. I want to say we'll see, but we probably won't see.
Well,
I mean, they're going to release a bunch. They're going to release 80,000 documents, and it's going to be a bunch of redacted bullshit, and it's going to be the same shit you've heard over and over and over again. And it's going to be interviews with people that didn't go anywhere. And it's going to be conspiracy theories and a bunch of stuff. And in the end, you're going to be like, we didn't really learn anything. We just read documents for the last.
It's all about the hype and the buildup. It seems like that's kind of the new wave of all of this different stuff. I mean, Tucker Carlson had a guy on who's allegedly Obama's male lover. Did you see that? I mean, so I don't. It's all right. I don't know how much of that I believe, but it's
Listen, I got a friend that will swear to God, he will swear up and down that Michelle Obama is a man.
Big Mike.
Yeah, it's what are you doing?
I mean, I think it is interesting too. It's well, why don't you have any pictures of her pregnant? I mean, you got to ask the question, dude. Why don't you have any of those? Never seen any of them.
There are 2 kids running around though.
Yeah.
I just.
But are they there? So who knows?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's so much. It's like Pizzagate. They're running the Clintons are running a child pornography ring out of the basement of a pizza store that doesn't actually have a basement. You know what I'm saying? There's such insanity that's out there.
Yeah, I mean the Clinton stuff is kind of interesting though.
Yeah, there's all these murders that are connected to them in some way. But let's be honest. I'm writing a book right now about Garth Brooks being a serial killer. I can tell you right now, I can connect this dude to about 80 to 90 unsolved murders and about 120 missing persons. You know how many people he killed? Nobody. I mean, it's he was playing at this arena, and across the street, a guy went missing. They found the body in the guy's vehicle, 5 miles away. And if you do that, you show that enough and allude to the fact that it's possible that during Garth's morning walk, you do that enough, and you do it enough over the course of 25 years of travel, you've got hundreds. And it starts to become like, oh my, every once in a while, there are some of these combinations between, or connections between him and people that you're like, there's one or two of them that I'm telling you, if I told you the whole situation, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not as powerful. Like Garth Brooks is not as powerful as like a president, though, right? I mean, like the Obamas, like a long time. I think it's like Chef or something like that. He was writing a book about what it was like to work with the Obamas, and then all of a sudden, before the book got released, he was found drowned in their, like in their family's lake, like behind their house.
People drowned.
See, I mean, this is where you don't like to connect the dots. You're just like, nope. Show me some more evidence with all of this different stuff. Where, I mean, I guess I appreciate, right? It's a different, instead of me just, tinfoil hat and everything. But I think that, the Clintons' connection to the Epstein stuff, where it's like, all right, well,
what's really weird is like Epstein had a photo or had a painting made of Bill Clinton dressed up in, right?
Yeah.
Like
as a woman or something too, right?
It's the weirdest fucking thing. Like, to me, that is just across the board. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's
like,
weird.
I get it. You're a weirdo, but you have the former president of the United States in a painting. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? Who do you hire to do that? How do you even have the gall to call up a painter and say, I'm going to need you to paint a picture of this guy in drag, but I need it to be Bill Clinton? How do you even say that with a straight face?
Weird.
Like, you're going to have to pay a print. Have you seen it? Did you see it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Right? Like,
yeah, and then
it's insane.
And then he got the guy to, like, I mean, the artist probably had to sign like some sort of NDA or like be quiet about it, right? Like, so I don't know. I think like all the connection to all these things is just there's too many things adding up with like powerful people to not think that there's a deep state, in my opinion.
It's just funny. It's just funny how, like, for me personally, it's like all this stuff's just, I hear about, oh, wow. And then I just continue on. Like, I don't even think about it twice.
Yeah. Yeah. To some people, it consumes their entire life.
No, I mean, yeah, I think some people take it like too far to an extreme. It's like, all right, like what they're doing on a daily basis is not necessarily going to affect you.
Yeah, like I think, like I'm sure, like these powerful people are corrupt. I'm sure all these things are corrupt, but I'm like, like, what am I going to do about it? How do I get more views on this next YouTube video? That's
yeah.
I have a friend named Chris Marrero.
Okay.
Every day, 3 or 4 times a day, this is what I get from him. This is it.
Just like videos on like
oh
my God.
Oh no, that's nothing. That's nothing. This will go on. I don't even respond to him. Look, you see any responses to me? Yeah. Almost never. I mean, every once in a while I'll respond to him.
Yeah.
I never really pay attention to, and almost everything, by the way, is of this stuff is alien stuff. It's all aliens, deep state, aliens, everything. Look, do you see me responding to him at all?
That's ridiculous.
It's insanity.
I mean, like, the thing that's opened my eyes basically a lot to this deep state stuff is just looking into how the Federal Reserve was created on Jekyll Island and kind of just diving into that and looking at how much manipulation happens with the money. And that's basically why, like, all right, I've realized the money is so manipulated that whenever there's a crisis, like the Iraqi war or something like that was just kind of created out of thin air. And like all of these different big events that happened, it's like, okay, well, if you look at like the way the financial situation was during that time, it's like we just really needed more money for all of this. So we'll print some money out of thin air with all of this. And this is how it kind of happens is people say that there's some sort of crisis. So that's why I believe in the deep state. And I think and so the money and the media, like basically are the two levers. The media is the voice. The money is like basically like the power in a sense.
So what happens when Doge takes away all the grants and everything from the media? I think that.
Well, that's why I think like
4 years from now we'll be living in a different country.
Yeah, well, I think like when Trump came in 2016, he didn't really know what was going on. He was like,
it took him months didn't have his didn't think he was going to win, really.
Yeah,
didn't have a cabinet, didn't have anything set up. Took months before they even fucking realized, like, okay, we're in control and we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah,
this time didn't happen like that.
Yeah, basically, like he ran on Drain the Swamp in 2016, and he had no idea what he was doing. So the swamp was still there, and so he had 4 years to kind of sit on it afterwards. Like, what would I do differently? And so now he's coming in with like full vengeance, essentially. I mean, that I think that's why they tried to kill him, because they knew, like, hey, like, when he comes in these next 4 years, we're not going to be able to control him as easily as we did before.
Yeah, he's out of control, bro. He's out of control right now.
You think it's a good thing or no?
I think that, unfortunately, I shouldn't say this, but I think it's a great thing. I love that it's upsetting everybody. Listen, I don't think, until we're living in a utopia, I don't think we should give one fucking dollar to anybody else. Not one fucking dollar. I'm not living in a utopia. I don't have free healthcare. I don't have fucking, I'm terrified that I'm going to have to retire someday on Social Security. Until we're living in the most amazing, wealthiest country that has ever been created. Until that happens, I wouldn't give a fucking dime to anybody else.
I agree with you.
So the tariffs things, like I had no idea. You telling me that Canada's charging 219% on fucking on dairy goods and 50% on vehicles and 200% on this and fuck you. It's zeroed out exactly the same. There's no tariffs, or you guys could, because you'll starve to death.
Yeah,
I love it when the argument that they're making. We don't need this. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, of course.
We'll cut off your energy. Cut it off. We may be out of energy. We may be out of electricity for 4 or 5 days, but I promise you, they will reroute that electrical, and those cities will have power again, and then you'll never sell another dime of energy. And if you do that, and one American dies as a result of it, I'll just carpet bomb your entire fucking country.
Yeah,
because you're not Americans, and I don't care if you're not an American. If I was like the president of the United States, I'm only concerned about when these are, well, we're worried about the rest of the world. Fucking rest of the world didn't elect me. The American people did. I'm only concerned about the American people. I'm not sending any money here, any money there.
Yeah.
You know what kills me about Europe is that we're supplementing your military. We are your military.
Yeah.
You have the military that you have is window dressing. It's nothing. We are completely basically, we're your entire security apparatus. And so you're spending 1%, 0.5% on your military. We're spending almost 3.5% of our budget on our military. And by the way, our budget is massive compared to yours. You're essentially spending, for every $500 we're spending, you're spending a couple bucks.
Yeah.
So, and then what do you do with the rest of that extra money that you're not dumping into NATO and your military and all these things? You put it into social programs. And then when you get to have 34 weeks off when you have a baby, and you get free health care, and you get to have 2 months a year off for vacation, and we get no vacation. You have a baby, tough shit, get back to fucking work. When we don't have free health, we have none of that stuff. You mock us. Europe mocks the Americans for being savages and being stupid. Well, you have all of what you have because we're supplementing. You're able to spend all that money on your military, or that you should be spending on your military, on these social programs that make you enlightened. And then once you become enlightened, you mock the very people that allow you to be enlightened. No. I mean, I'm sorry. I have no empathy for these people. I'd be brutal if I was president. That's why you can't let someone like me, you can't let a complete psychopath fucking be president. Like, I'd be brutal. It'd be horrific. These guys are like, tariffs, fuck tariffs. Let's go in. Yeah. I say we go into Ottawa. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's go into Mexico City. Let's fucking, I don't know what's happening with you guys. But I'm thinking, I don't know why we have these South American countries. They should just be states. And listen, what's so funny is before Trump was saying states, when my wife and I would have discussions, I would say, when we were talking about Ukraine, me and Boziak were talking about Ukraine. You know what I said? I said, no. You go to Ukraine and you say, we got two options here. One, you guys work it out. You'll figure it out. or we make you a state.
Yeah.
And now Putin's invaded a state, and we're going to put bases all over the place in there. And if Putin says, "What are you doing?" We say, "No, there's a state. We're switching it over to a state." So I'm not going to just give you money. I'll never get the money back. I'm not going to pump money into it for you to fight out a war. I'll just make you a state. Puerto Rico, you're a state.
Yeah.
Or you're nothing. Mexico, you're a state. Or you're nothing. You want help? You're a state. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we're going to. I mean,
Right,
I wouldn't be surprised. Like Canada.
I was saying that 5 years ago when we were having these discussions. I'm
Yeah.
talking to Bozak. I'm saying, and then somebody was, "Oh, that's colonization." I don't have a problem with colonization.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but all these other countries that were colonized, it's horrible. Is it?
I mean, that's what we were talking about, like a global society, right? If you want us to do trade evenly with everybody around the world, then why do we have separate borders in countries? The U.S. should just take it all over that at a certain point, right?
Right. I don't see that's and if you're saying, "No, fuck you, we don't want that." Okay, great. Well, then don't ask for us any money.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest issue, right? Is like we've just been handing out money like it's monopoly money, giving out free tokens here left and right.
But you're handing out like my money. Like I just got out of prison. I don't know about you, bro. I never got a COVID check. When at the end of the year, when I'm supposed to get $4,000 back or $3,000, you know what happens? They take my money.
Yeah.
Like I pay in this, like every year I pay in tens of thousands of dollars into the U.S. government, and then they take it and they send it to Ukraine or they send it somewhere else.
Well, I mean, everybody else is too. It's just the ruse under like, all right, you get your W-2, right? And then you get your tax refund. In reality, they just took out more money than they were supposed to. But I mean, it's the whole system's just absolutely screwed. But I think hopefully we're draining the swamp in this next 4 years, and I agree with you. I loved the rant too; it was awesome.
I appreciate it. Listen, the whole insider trading thing, all of that shit, like Republican or Democrat, to me, if you enter public office and you're going to try and turn around and make a buck on it, that's a problem, bro. That's a problem.
That's what I think is like, yeah, I mean, especially with the way that we've had all of these different kind of things come out, right? With like you're lining out with the Doge, all of that, all of these different programs, whatever, transitioning rats, doing some stupid shit in
Colombia. $12 million to send condoms to Rwanda or Nigeria. Like, what are we doing?
And these are all funded programs that, get some sort of kickback to whatever politician it is. So if you really just follow the trails of all of these money, it's all being manipulated in a sense where, AOC has, a $100,000 a year salary or whatever it is, and she's a multimillionaire.
How does that happen?
It doesn't make any sense. And it's been happening for years and years and years. And now we're finally starting to uncover all of it.
Well, what's funny is I don't even see that it ever really gets uncovered, because here's the thing. If I send $12 million to Nigeria and Nigeria funnels back, $8 million to some, some company that's owned by the nephew of some senator, then to me, when the DOJ comes in and says, "Okay, Nigeria, we need to know where you sent that. You got 12 million? Did you reroute that money?" And they go, "We don't have to respond to you."
Yeah,
like it's the perfect scam, because they're going to be like, "We're not going to do that. Why would we do that?"
It's a perfect money washing technique, right? I mean, it's just like
I don't have to respond to your little. What did you send me a subpoena?
What the hell? What the hell is this?
I don't have to. I'm not. You want to know where that money went?
Have you ever tried to send mail from the U.S. to another country?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean,
super expensive, and it takes weeks, and it's super expensive.
It doesn't even show up. Like I don't know. I ordered something. I was in Colombia for the month of January. I ordered some glasses or sunglasses or something. Still haven't arrived allegedly, so I don't know what happened to that. But I mean, that's how all of these things are, right? Like, all right, you're mentioning Nigeria. You send a piece of mail, warrant, whatever it is there. The likelihood of it getting there is
they're gonna
slim to none.
Shrug it off.
Yeah, like why would they even need to respond at that point?
Right.
So,
what are we doing? I didn't think this thing was going to go fucking 45 minutes.
Yeah, no.
The rant went way longer than anything else.
We'll see. Maybe if the files aren't released, maybe this will be released tomorrow.
If the files aren't, here's what the real problem with Trump is, that he keeps making news, and every time he comes out and makes news, nobody watches our videos. So this guy is dominating the span of time that people have to watch videos. He's cutting into that, which is cutting into our watch time. So our videos aren't getting as much watch time because even I do it. I'm watching more news than ever, and I hate the news.
I mean, Trump gets views, right? So you got to do stuff on Trump.
That's what. But then,
Yeah,
but
we've
then we alienate 30 to 35% of our.
I don't know, man. I think people hate watch videos on Trump as well as love watch them.
yeah, we haven't had great performance as far as
Anything
the
to do with
political
politics
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the politics stuff is tough unless you're like a straight politics channel and never really.
We did something with Pete, remember, on the Biden, the video on Biden and the sex offenders and the whole, because he was like letting out sex offenders and stuff.
Yeah,
we did a video. That fucking thing was.
But then
it's got
did a video on the cartels, and it gets hundreds of thousands, 100,000 plus.
What did you see him sending all of those Venezuelan cartel members
Oh my God! Did
to
you see
El
that?
Salvador?
Did you even seen that?
No.
Sent
They're like
230 of them. You know they've got that 40,000 that prison. That one prison that holds 40,000 inmates, they sent 230 gang members that aren't U.S. citizens to be housed there.
In El Salvador.
The way, because listen, the way they treat the guys, the way they walk them around, you get there, they shave your head. You're walking around and
they have them like this, basically, like with handcuffs.
Right. So they walk them everywhere they walk. They're bent over. Like they're not allowed to stand up straight and walk around there because they don't want them seeing where they're at or whatever. So they're constantly hunched over, walking with. They walk them in there and then they just stack there. They're stacked.
Yeah.
There's no bed mats. You're sleeping on steel. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide. It's got to be the most inhumane. But then again, I also think that these are gang members. You've got tattoos all over your face and you're murdering people.
Yeah.
Not sure how humanely I'm supposed to treat you.
Well, I mean, that was Nayib Bukele of El Salvador who made Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador, basically flipped that whole country on its head because it was the most violent country in the world.
Now it's one of the safest.
Yeah. And I've been the past 3 years, and it's
Wait, would they arrest 100,000?
Yeah, and they basically they took the leaders and gunned them down and put a video out of it and just said yeah, you try this shit, we're gonna fucking kill you.
They built prisons that can handle 100,000 people. They've got a couple prisons. They locked it, and they went around and looked, and anybody that looked like a gang member, boom, they just grabbed you. And we hold you in jail until eventually you go in front of a court, and then we determine at that time whether we're going to let you out, under what circumstances. And if they can prove that you have anything to do with the gang, you may not be getting out. And right now they have them working off their time in factories, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So you got these gang members. These guys are all tattooed up. They're making sweaters and shit, and they're terrified. Which is, listen, I'm sorry. You get to a point where you have to suspend human rights. You get to a point where that's the only way to take over a country, is to be an absolute tyrant. And what's so funny about that is once that guy cleans up the entire country and it becomes livable and it's a decent place to live again, and they start, and then they start re-implementing basic standards of living and human rights and how you should treat someone, they'll throw him out.
Well,
That's just what happens.
So I mean, like, there's a guy. He's like the head of the Human Rights Foundation, and he hates Nayib Bukele for the way that he's done it. But it's like, all right, well, if you're going to, have people that basically have zero regard for human right? I mean, these gang members would just kill people. They made the country unlivable.
Right.
Like, basically ruin the country from the inside. You gotta just fight violence with violence at a certain point and just like put your hand down, right? I mean, and look what he's done. He's turned it all the way around where now El Salvador was the most violent country. And now it's like I was walking around there drunk at some points, feeling safer than I do in some cities in America.
You know what's interesting is like Winston Churchill. He's bitching and moaning about Germany for years. They're rebuilding their military. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing this. They're invading here. They're invading there. They're doing, like, he's screaming, like, what are we doing? Like, what, we have to stop them. And everybody's, shut up, Winston. Sit down, Winston, you fat little troll. Sit down, sit down. And finally, when they finally get to a point where they realize, like, it's just overwhelming how bad things are getting with Nazi Germany. They're invading Poland. They're invading there. They're invading all these places. Like, supposedly we're at war with them. They're doing all these things. Finally, when it's really honestly too late, you could have stopped them way before this. They finally say, okay, we're going to vote in Churchill. Churchill fights tooth and nail for the next 5 years to help defeat, with the Americans, of course, and the Soviets, to help defeat the Nazis. And as soon as they declared the end of the war, and they're at the point where we're about to start rebuilding, they vote them out.
Yeah.
We needed you to lead us to victory, but we don't need you anymore. We're done with you. We're done with you. It's just, and that's why it's like, human beings are just really scumbags. I mean, really, like this is the man that led you to victory, and you couldn't let him lead you during the time of peace, even for a few years. Like, he's an old man. He did the right thing. He used up his political power and energy on defeating the Nazis, which he pled for you to stop for fucking years prior to this. You treated him like a fool, and the moment he proved he was the right way to go and led you to victory, you throw him out on his ass. Like, just a bunch of fucking scumbags, bro.
I mean, yeah, at a certain point, like, I mean,
yeah.
But
it's sad. It's sad. That's how the mob is, and that's really what's ruling these countries, is just the mob.
So you do believe in the deep state. There we go. Full circle here. He just came out. He does believe in it. Because the mob is running it, right? I mean, call it what you want. Mob, deep state, whatever.
It's not what I don't mean the mob. I mean
the people?
Society. Society as a mob. Like the majority, the great unwashed masses. That's the mob. This mob of unwashed masses. That's what's really running the country. It's whatever's in their best interest. You were in our best interest temporarily, but now we've got another party that's coming in, and they want to give us free health care, and they're going to give us welfare. And Winston Churchill didn't believe in any of that. He's like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not time for us to start. We don't have an economy where we can start giving away stuff for free. We have to rebuild. They don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
that guy over there said he's going to give me free health care, and he's going to give me food stamps, and they should vote him in.
I mean, that's what always happens, though, right? I mean, we saw, like, I know people that voted for Biden because he said he was going to give like $10,000 off, or forgive student loans or whatever it is. Of course, that shit didn't happen. Like, I mean, it's just like that's what politicians have run on for years and years and years. It's just now we have the like I said, the microphone.
People got checks. They got checks, and then they canceled the loan forgiveness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They said it's not. So I go to college and run up $150,000 debt on something that I can never pay off.
A liberal arts degree.
Yeah, liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
Like you're just a bad investment. And so then they pay it off, but Jess spends $15,000 of her own money.
Yeah.
And because it's not a 4-year degree, she happens to have a degree or get a certificate as a marine mechanic. She's got to pay her $15,000, which, by the way, makes a lot more money than your liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
But you get the $150,000,
Yeah.
$150,000, and she didn't get shit. Like, come on, man. What are you doing?
I know, it's ridiculous.
That's a bribe.
Yeah. I mean, and you give that to like an 18-year-old kid who has no idea what they're going to do for their life and have no concept of like money or anything like that. Majority of these kids have been living under their parents' household for their whole life. It's just one giant manipulation to keep you in debt for your entire life.
I'm pretty sure people got access to the money. Like they got access to the money, and then they like go back and say, well, they aren't forgiven. Because I remember like my brothers were talking, like they both got like, oh, I could use this money, and they're both like, I'm gonna wait until it's like confirmed.
Right.
Yeah, but I did because I paid all mine off like right out of college. I spent the next year living with my parents, and pretty much 90% of all my paychecks were just straight to student loans.
Yeah.
You know, I had about $40,000 or $50,000 in student loan debt. Just even though my dad paid for most of college, I still took out like the $3,500 student loans that you could take out. I had about probably 40 or 50 grand worth, and I had paid him down to about $30,000. And the week before I took off on the run, I paid him off.
That's good because it'll follow you, right? You can't
Right, because I'd still owe that money. Right, not that it matters. I still owe $6 million, but I'm saying I remember thinking.
Yeah, student loans are like an interesting, I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing that doesn't go away with bankruptcy, like it sticks with you forever.
Yeah.
No federal debt does, by
Yeah.
the way. Like I can't bankrupt the $6 million. I can't bankrupt it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have left prison and bankrupted it
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 20 to 25, and I just worked. I didn't do anything other than just pay all my student loans for a whole year. So
Yeah, the system's corrupt.
It's horrible. It's a horrible
Yeah.
system.
I know. And then now you basically need a job in order to do that, right? Or you need a college degree to get some sort of job or like this, right? That's a well-paying and everything along those lines. Well, at least that's what you're sold, right?
I was gonna say, I don't even know if that's the case anymore.
yeah, I mean, me and my wife disagree, but I'm like, yeah, my kids aren't going to go to college unless they really want to. Like they have a specific reason. I'm like, not that they're not going to go to college, but you don't have to go to college.
Like if
Yeah.
you're a doctor, I
Yeah.
want you to have gone to college.
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
feel like you need to go to college.
Yeah, okay. Like a
you're an
doctor,
accountant.
a lawyer, probably an
Right.
accountant, maybe one of these, an engineer, some of these specialties. Like, okay.
Some
but
of
like,
these degrees are ridiculous.
yeah, like what do you, if you're going to be a liberal arts major, like what are we doing? Like, well, I don't even know why we offer some of these. Like,
It's just silly.
and then the other problem is like, okay, then you get to the point where, okay, the way that a school makes money is by taking in all these loans and getting all these, federally funded people to come in. And then, they need more money to keep coming in to pay for their research, for their professors to stay to be happy. Then you get more people doing masters and PhDs. And then the masters and PhDs are just on bullshit. Like, just study this thing. And there doesn't need to be a result of whatever research that you spent 6 years on, but you get to say you have, a PhD from XYZ University and say that, and then it's just basically watered down all of our degrees.
So what would you title this episode?
That's a great question.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Please share the video. Also, if you'd like, please go in the description box, and we're going to have all of Brandon's links in the description box, so you can click on them. You can go to his YouTube channel. He has a financial channel where he talks about Bitcoin and finance, right? That's good. Okay. Bitcoin and finance. And then he's also got Instagram, so you can click on there and follow him and subscribe to his channel. Once again, I appreciate you guys watching. Please consider joining our Patreon. Should I say the Patreon thing about... No, we're not sure.
You can mention it. I just don't know.
We're not sure. We were practicing with
Doing a live stream.
doing a live stream with a Patreon subscription. We're not sure if it's going to work out. We really only ended up having one guy watch. Anyway, But we didn't really tell anybody either, so I shouldn't say that. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.